Deciphering early encryptions tracing hidden geometries and decoding grid patterns, Watt tries to prove that Edward de Vere was Shakespeare. He has also found out that de Vere, or Shakespeare, was actually buried in Westminster's Abbey, contrary to popular belief of him being buried in Stratford upon Avon. And it was buried under the, well, you will see. If Watt is true, he may have just cracked the code of Shakespeare. I'll walk you through this. It starts at Shakespeare's supposed grave at Stratford. There's a wall plaque showing many mistakes, and if you take out those mistakes, it reads, "In this monument, read if thou hast, get whom Avius death hath placed with Shakespeare." A riddle meaning, who is Shakespeare buried with? Now, I would like to give credit to Watt, because even if this was just a bunch of coincidences, it's pretty cool. So, let's continue. On the top, in Latin, it says, "The earth covers Peleus with his judgment, Socrates with his genius, and Maro or with his art, or known as Virgil today." And obviously, he's not going to be buried with them. So who is he buried with?
I'm befuddled, Sean.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So you see this?
Yes.
So this is the earth covers, and this is the judgment of Pilium, the genius of Socrates, and the art of Maro. So that's pretty cool, in my opinion.
Huh.
So that's who he's buried with. But let's see what it actually means. Edmund Spenser, often described as the English Virgil, is buried in Poets' Corner, Westminster Abbey. Geoffrey Chaucer is often described as having the geniuses of Socrates buried right next to Spenser. And finally, Francis Beaumont, described as having the judgment of Pillage, was also buried right next to Chaucer. So now we know he's buried with those three. Now, to understand what he does next, we have to give a brief description and explanation. I encourage all to go to the video, and I will put it in the description. But essentially, to sum it up, everything comes in threes, or 3T's in some cases, which means God, because 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. And 9 gives you the symbol, which makes the iota chi Christogram, meaning Jesus, or God, in Roman numerals. Also notable, the triple tau, aka the key, is made out of 3T's, but also one more hidden upside down 4th T. He also goes to say that Shakespeare is that T, or rather Edward de Vere. First, he looks at the dedication and finds 3 upside down triangles. I'll show you the dedication here and what he found. All right, watching the stream.
Yes.
So you notice how they're upside down triangles?
I do.
Pretty epic, right?
Yeah, but what does that mean, Sean?
Okay, I'll show you. So he finds 3 upside down triangles with triangles representing 3, and there are 3 of them, making 9. There are also 3 V's that the triangles also represent that fit in with Jesus' little motto. Ego sum via, ego sum veritas, and ego sum vita, which means I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And so, that's another way of pointing to God. So, he's always representing Jesus in 3s. Now, back to the dedication triangles. They happen to be in the lines 624. This could be referring to de Vere's death date, because it is June 24th, or 624.
Ishan, you fried my capability to think.
Okay. Keep listening.
I will keep listening.
He then decides to look at the dedication once more. And this time he picks up the sixth word, the second word after that, and then the fourth word after the second, or the eighth technically. And this makes a code. And can you look at the document?
Looking at the document.
Look at this.
Folks,
And it
those
creates.
are words.
And it creates. So
Yes.
it spells out these sonnets all by the ever fourth T, or these sonnets by E. Veer, the fourth T. Now do you get
Ah,
it? Like Edward de
ah,
Vere. Ah,
ah,
ah, ah,
ah,
ah. After this,
ah, ah. Ishan Patel, you are a genius.
Mr. Watt is a genius.
Shut up, Ishan
I
Patel,
was
you're
pretty
dumb.
shocked. After this, he puts this. After this, he puts all the letters into a 19-column grid to see if there's any patterns, and he does this because T is the 19th letter of the alphabet. And there just so happens that there are 19 T's. Then he goes on to show that 6 plus 12 plus 4 equals 12. And in the 12th column, there's a triple tau. There's 3 T's representing a triple tau. For the middle, there is no T. However, by putting an I in the middle for Jesus, because there's no J's at the time, and that's how you spell Jesus in Latin, you get the word veritas, which means truth, and ven at the very bottom, which means comes or to come. Are you looking?
Yes,
Look,
Harvard.
see, veritas and ven.
Whoa,
That's pretty
that's
cool.
nifty. That
Yeah.
is so nifty.
Okay. So that means it just says. That means it says truth comes in Jesus, because if Jesus is always if Jesus is the beginning and the end in the middle, and it says veritas ven, that means truth comes in Jesus. Or I think so. That's what it's supposed to say. Anyway. Oh, he then highlights fourth and the triple tau and puts an upside down T on the fourth, spelling the veer. See? Look. So it says, sorry, this is the wrong one. This is the right one. So this one, look at this. So it says fourth and then triple T, and then he puts an upside down T, because you know how the triple tau has a hidden fourth T, like I said? But after this groundbreaking discovery, he puts a T on top of that upside down T, and it shows lies here. And then the 3 letters that I left have DVE, or if we arrange them, EDV, meaning Edward de Vere. Huh?
Yes. Wow.
That's pretty epic, right?
That is
But we're
pretty
not
epic.
in the nitty gritty yet, even.
What? Really?
Yeah.
You can't? We're not even in the nitty gritty yet, and you've already fried my brain box?
And then you find ish, or insigno hoc, or Jesus's sign,
Jesus. Praise be.
to find an upside down cross, or the St. Peter's cross, showing that Shakespeare is buried in the south aisle of St. Peter's. So yeah, if we look here, it does
Yes.
SOV, which is actually a U at the time, T and H. Okay, that's south, right?
Yeah. Oh, hold on 1 second, Ishan.
Really?
Before you explain any further, you can go now.
Okay. And it says aisle,
Mm-hmm.
and then, because this is a St. Peter's cross, South Aisle St. Peter's. St. Peter's is the old name of the Westminster Minster.
Uh-huh.
So that means South Aisle of the Westminster, or South Aisle of St. Peter's.
Right.
So that's where Shakespeare could be buried. buried.
Ah,
It's pretty epic.
right. Yes.
And then if we put it all together, it spells Edward de Vere because the DVE, which we rearranged. And then the lies here. Edward de Vere lies here. South Cross Isle, St. Peter's. And then because of the huh?
Yes. Go on. Go on. Do
And
go
then
on.
and then he puts the floor plan of the West Mines. Okay, so the next part we're going back to D for Ox, or the Oxford thing. And we solve this puzzle again. And there's more to it. So we take the by G and place it first. So it's by G Oxford now. And then
Mhm.
and then we put this sorry. And we don't add the second T because T is also God, so it's by God. And so because T is God already, we don't need another God.
Mhm.
And so now
Yeah.
we cross out the T and we put the and in between by G and Oxford, and you get by G and Oxford. And then after that, because there are 17 letters in that sentence, we put 17 after Oxford, and what's left is ELARE. And if we mix them around, we get earl, or how they would have spelt Earl at the time. So now we get by G, or by God, and Oxford 17th Earl, or 17 Earl.
What? Holy moly!
Are you convinced now?
Ishan, I'm not gonna lie to you. My brain is half dead and half confused, but it does seem like this is some impressive proof you've rounded up from
You've
the
accumulated.
that you've
We get
accumulated.
another 2 lines. Alright? You still with me? We get an
Yeah,
X.
a little bit.
So now,
Okay.
if you look up and you take the P from Shakespeare and you take the stem and extend it all the way down to a second T, to second dot, sorry, and you get another sign of Jesus, the IHS, or in this sign you conquer. So now, after that, we can see that's related to Jesus. So now we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see where everything points to. So we can see that the first line points to Shakespeare's sonnets. Then we got the DE. One of the lines is pointing to DE on the far right side, upper right. That's DE. And then there's NE on the far left side. So DENE. Sorry. So it's DE. Then it's EV on the other side. It looks like EU, but at the time, EU was, or what looked like U was a V. So D and then VE. And then if we look at the bottom right, we get RE. So that spells D V re. And then the last one is pointing to by G. Or we can see here it's D V re and by G. We added the by G. Or we instead of G we can use God. So De Vere by God. making it Shakespeare's Sonnets by God and De Vere, if you just flip it around. So that's cool. Next, we go back to the dedication, to the last point where the last line is pointing to, and we didn't even mention. So, if we can look close, we get D for T as highlighted, suggesting a trade like vomiting for money. And what's interesting is that I at T used to represent Taurus, or the constellation of an ox. So D for ox. If we flip the trade and we finish the trade, we get Oxford. And now we see that everything comes in threes, because at the time, Jesus was said to come in threes. We got October. Yeah,
Oxford, like
yeah.
as in Earl of Oxford, as in
No,
De Vere. Well,
as in the University of Oxford.
of course. How could I have missed this?
And now we have seen that Oxford is the fourth T 3 times. We have validated it because everything comes in threes. And at the time because at the time Jesus was said to come in threes. Anyway, back to where he was buried. Um we take that line that was given to us, that connects to the fourth T, and we redraw the circle and put it over the floor plans of the Westminster's Abbey. That line to the fourth T, we use that line and we overlay it on the Westminster's Abbey. We also draw it back on the cover of Shakespeare's sonnets. Putting them side by side, we already see a row. It connects to a row of columns in Poet's Corner. So you see that? It connects to this
Yeah.
row of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's also worth mentioning the Westminster Abbey is on a tilt, making it slightly off center, which means when you cut a compass on that very line, it goes slightly northeast. And if we look back onto the cover page, the line is between N and E, northeast. Look at that. Look at that on my stream.
I am looking at that. It's very impressive. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Took all the other lines from it and we just kept this one line.
I
And
see.
now
That makes a lot more
we
sense.
overlaid this line on top of the floor plans of the Poet's Corner.
Because of course we did.
No, because we knew that he was in Poet's Corner because of the past clue.
True. Alright.
So we see that it lines up because these are both NE, or northeast. Alright? So now let's see this again. See, okay. So now when we overlay it, we can see that Edward de Vere is buried under Shakespeare's statue in the Poet's Corner, because it ends up where the line ends up straight on Shakespeare's monument. You can't see it from here, but there's a little line saying Shakespeare, and that's exactly where the line ends.
Huh. Interesting. There.
Furthermore, sorry. Furthermore, we can see that Shakespeare on his monument is pointing on the right side, or is pointing at a scroll, which on the right side has 4 T's. We can see T, 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 and T.
T- T-
And then we can also see that this specific line comes from a line in The Tempest, where it's just something disappears, like Shakespeare, or maybe just the 17th Earl of Oxford. Eh? Eh?
Absolutely nay.
This is only the second instance, and it
Oh,
has to
is there a third?
remember what's the number one rule?
There's
Everything
always a third instance.
exactly. Everything comes in threes. So
Ah, I see what you did there.
So now be quiet because I'm getting
Oh,
back to the serious part. Now we go back to the dedication. If we didn't separate the words with hyphens and it was just one big word, we get a different message. Instead of these sonnets all by E. Veer, the fourth T, we get these sonnets by ever living, well wishing T. Who is T again? This is your cue.
God.
Yeah!
Yeah. The answer is always God.
And this
Praise
is the
be.
third one. This is the third one. And the one that validates it. Look at that. Look at that. These
Well,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 1, 2 sonnets. 1, 2, 3, and then this is the fourth. All 1, 2, 3, 6. By to ever living poet with well wishing, and then 6 T. So you have the fourth T, and now you have ever wishing T. Okay,
you,
so but it was possible that he had written everything beforehand, and when he died, they just kept getting published.
I see.
Because the same thing happened when the supposed real Shakespeare died, there's still a couple of his works being published after that. So,
Really?
what's your opinion on? Do you think? Have you been convinced?
I can't believe the Earl of Oxford pulled a posthumous.
Whether Shakespeare was Marlowe or De Vere, or even Shakespeare, or not, the fact remains the person writing the plays was an outstanding writer, writing the biggest plays of history, and continued to teach all a lesson, even today. But who wrote Shakespeare's plays remains unsolved. So that was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it totally was God, though.
True.
Hmm.
Cut.